Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and welcome to my series on efficient spey casting. And today we're going to look at having an efficient power stroke, because I see a lot of problems out there when I'm fishing and working with students where their power stroke is basically back to front. And I'll explain what I'm talking about. So if I want an efficient power stroke, I start slowly, draw the line, keeping the rod loaded all the way through, and finish off quickly. That's the best way to get a good power stroke. You start slow, you continually accelerate, and then you get to the stopping position and you come to a complete stop. Sounds straightforward enough. But what I see most often is a yank, and then they fade. So you yank followed by a fade. And what happens is the rod unloads. So let's look at my model and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So what I would normally want to see happen is, as the cast progresses, we accelerate faster and faster and faster, and as a consequence, this part of the line stays in contact with the rod tip the entire time. We never lose contact with the line behind us. But what happens, and I should say the rod always remains loaded. We always get the bend in the rod. But what we see instead, when you rush it, when you make that first initial yank, and then you do it really fast, like yank, and then as you slow down, the line is still accelerating for a brief moment. So a little further on, it's still accelerating. And our problem is with our modern, very fast recovery rods, is if you back off the tension just for an instant, those rods immediately relax. So when you've got to this position in your cast, when you've yanked it, at this position here, your rod's unloaded. So what happens is the person's about here, and they've lost the load on the rod. They can't feel it anymore. They can't feel the line. And then they go, "Rah!" to try and get a cast out. And they practically put their shoulder out of joint. And you see it all the time where they yank here and then they thrash at the end. And that's because about halfway through they've slowed down and the line has continued to accelerate. The rod is recovered to its resting position, and there's no load on the rod anymore, and the only way they can get a cast out is then to whack it as hard as they can to try and get something to go. And as I say, the secret to that is you make a very smooth acceleration to the stopping position, and you just continually accelerate all the way through. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at some footage of me doing exactly that, and I struggled with how to show this, because trying to show acceleration in the human body, even in slow motion, is not really apparent. And I did come up with a method, so we'll have a look at that. So let's get started here. Just here's a few casts. These are nice and easy casts. You notice I'm not working hard at all, very slow and smooth, yet they're going out with enough effort, that and energy, I should say, that some of them are recoiling back. So very simple stuff, but I want you to note there's no thrashing. It's just a pull that I'm doing. Okay, so here's a cast, 60, 65 feet, minimal effort, and now we're going to examine that same cast and break it down, and so you can see the acceleration and where the acceleration should be and where it should not be. So let's carry it through. So what I've done is those yellow lines represent the position of my rod handle. And I'll stop it right there. So what you can see here is at the start of the stroke, these lines are close together. And these lines are exactly 4 frames apart. So every line is another 4 frames in the video. So they're exactly spaced equally in time. They're using the time code of the video. So very close together indicates they're not going very fast. And then you notice they're starting to get wider apart, and even wider, and even wider. And that means I'm going faster and faster, until right at the end, just before the stop, I'm going at my fastest pace. So I've gone from slow to fast. And in effect, I'm pulling the line continuously. That's what an efficient power stroke looks like. What I see on the river is the exact reverse of that, where the lines will be widely separated in the early stages of the cast, and then will get progressively narrower. As the cast is moving on, they're getting progressively narrower, and then when they get to where the stopping position should be, there's no load, so they give it a whack to try and get it out there, which usually results in an incredibly ugly cast. So that is what we want in our power stroke, to have that progression. So what we also want to do is get the release point right. Now that's not too hard. Most people do get the release point right, but it's worth talking about. You want to hold that line until the rod unloads. So as the rod is in the process of fully unloading, you let go. And then as the stop is over, as you can see, I've released the running line. So stop, and I've released the running line. If you wait just a hair too long, you'll feel it tugging on your fingers and you're wasting energy. And if you let it go too soon, the rod unloads. So the timing of the release is critical, though as I say, most people get that part right. So it's just the idea of that pull to a stop. That's the thing. A nice smooth pull to the stop and away it goes. You don't have to work hard. And you shouldn't be thrashing. If you find yourself thrashing and using a lot of energy, it's because you're not doing that smooth, continuous pull to a stop. So it's pull, stop. And you don't really expend hardly any energy at all. You've seen the examples here. I'm not working hard. I'm just simply, that's it. And now it goes 60, 70, 80 feet. So your effort is a key diagnostic of whether your power stroke is efficient or not. If you're working hard, if you're going fast, and you seem to lose the load part the way through, if you can't feel what's going on, what's wrong is you started too quickly. And in fact, most things, whether we're talking about the lift, the sweep, the power stroke, whatever it is, you go from slow to fast. You never go from fast to slow. You always start slow and continuously pull. You maintain contact with the line. You maintain the load all the way through the stroke. You do that, you'll have a great power stroke, and your energy requirements that you have to put in go way down, and your ability to fish all day goes way up, and you don't go home with sore shoulders. So give that a try. Cheers.